After the tragic chain of events making Eastwood family tear apart one by one, Isabella, the lone survivor, seeks shelter with his heroic uncle, Jeffrey Eastwood, who unknowingly welcomes the demonic entity into his home who destroyed Eastwood's family in a brutal manner. Hi folks, I'm R, and welcome to the heroic tale of Jeffrey Eastwood, who became the target of this evil interdimensional entity who chose to fight it off against all odds, defending his niece Isabella Eastwood with all of his might. Keep in mind that this video will have spoilers about all of the franchise, and with that said, let's begin. Andy's apple farm story ended on Isabella being the only survivor out of the Eastwood family tragedy, with Thomas Eastwood, the creator of the game, making a deal with an interdimensional entity found in his game in order to bring his family and friend back to life, or at least to preserve their souls or consciousness. Rabbit Night, acting as a sequel, unravels the story of what happened after Isabella witnessed her possessed father, Thomas, in a psychotic way chase after his friend Arthur with his wood axe and brutally murder him. Thomas is subsequently possessed and taken to the virtual realm of Andy's apple farm, who ends up becoming the game character, Andy the Apple. The Rabbit Night game starts with Eastwood Games logo showing that this game was made in 1986, which is 3 years after the first game when all the tragedy took place. The plot of the game draws close similarities to the grim fate of Eastwood family, displaying how a peaceful kingdom of rabbits was attacked and overtaken by hostile mushrooms. All the good warrior rabbits were killed apart from a rookie rabbit called Rory the Rabbit. According to the previous game, each game character represents a real-life person who ended up in the virtual realm of Peter the Pumpkin, the interdimensional entity who trapped them here. Felix the Fish was the representation of Louis, the son of Thomas who drowned in a rowing boat accident caused by the entity itself, who found a way in Eastwood family's life, even in the real world, able to tamper with things or manipulate certain aspects. Louis was accompanied by his older sister, Isabella, who tried to dive into the water and save him, but she was stopped by the unseen force, the entity. After some time, being blamed for the death of Louis and feeling terrible, she wakes up in her house smelling something burning. She wakes up in horror, noticing that the house is being burned to ashes, only managing to escape and save herself, while her mother, Cameron, burns to death, suffering a horribly painful fate. Meanwhile, Thomas, beginning to believe that his best friend Arthur is having an affair with his wife, finds him there next to his burned down house, causing him to lose his mind, with the entity managing to break through and take over his body. He proceeds to brutally kill Arthur with an axe just to regain control over his body, witnessing what he had done. Meanwhile, Isabella was hiding behind the bushes, witnessing this atrocity and being shocked to her bones of what has happened. Staying out of sight, a remorseful and hopeless Thomas drags his friend's body back to his office, offering his soul or consciousness to the entity so that he can be revived. A claw emerges out of the screen and takes Arthur in, which subsequently results in Thomas being taken in two, as he made a deal with the seemingly evil, devil-like entity. With all of his family members being transformed into game characters in the Andy's Apple Farm game, being trapped there, only Isabella manages to stay out of Thomas's sight, running away to the street, waving in terror to the first incoming car she sees.
I hope you all at home are having a fabulous Christmas. However, last night, Christmas Eve, wasn't so great for a family on the outskirts of Pumpkin County. The 7th West Avenue Road property caught fire around 1 a.m. Friday morning. The cause of the fire is still unknown. However, the Pumpkin County Sheriff's Department states that the reason may have been a fallen Christmas tree too close to an open fireplace. There are suspected of having been 2 casualties. However, no bodies have been found as of yet. A 13-year-old girl was the only person found at the scene after waving down a family in their car for help. Police arrived on the scene shortly after. This is right next to the lake where a 10-year-old boy from the same family was presumed dead at Lake Keystone just 2 months ago.
Not able to utter any words, she's taken to the nearest police station in order to be helped. Rabbit Knight reveals what happened to Isabella after all of this. In the police station, being interviewed by an officer, Isabella informs them that she and her mother set up cameras in the woods, which they can obtain the tapes of and witness for themselves what happened, seemingly showing that Thomas was overtaken by an unseen force, committing murder, hacking his friend with his axe, then quickly coming to his senses, realizing what his body was used to do.
Can you tell us what happened on Christmas Eve last year? Isabella, you can talk to me. I know it's hard, but if we're going to solve this case, well, we'll need your help.
The cameras.
The cameras?
Yeah, me and Mama used to set up cameras in the forest.
Was the house in view of the cameras?
No, I don't think so.
Then why are you telling me this?
Find them. They'll show you.
Show us what? Isabella, show us what?
With one of the last remaining Eastwoods, Jeffrey Eastwood, Thomas's brother, or in other words, Isabella's uncle, he takes her home, giving her shelter and trying to protect her from the tragedy that she witnessed. With time passing and Isabella starting to move on from the horrors she witnessed in Christmas Eve of 1983, she wakes up in one cold evening, getting a strange sensation of something bad that could have happened. Making her way down to the living room, she comes across the grisly scene of her Uncle Jeff being murdered, with his corpse mangled in a gruesome manner. Horrified to this visual, she bursts out crying, believing that she might be cursed, bringing about the death of everyone around her. Not sure what is the case of it all, not knowing Thomas cursed his family, making a deal with this interdimensional entity known by its endgame character name as Peter the Pumpkin. This also happened to her when she was with her brother Lewis at the lake, where he fell from the boat and drowned, with Isabella restrained from helping him. Rory the Rabbit, therefore, is a representation of Uncle Jeff, who is revealed to have died 3 years after the tragic fire killing Cameron in Christmas Eve of '83. Jeffrey Eastwood died in 22nd of August 1986, seemingly by no other than Peter the Pumpkin, who possessed his consciousness and took him into his virtual realm. Through some hidden secrets, strange spectrograms are heard, which thanks to a YouTube channel called Codex A, who deciphered them, a message is revealed reading as such. After the death of my brother, I took Isabella into my home. I just wanted a better life for her. It wasn't just Isabella I took in, however. Something else, something evil, came with her. This of course reveals the other thing accompanying her was the entity who latched onto her, due to the deal Thomas made with it, forever cursing his family. Jeffrey, a kind-hearted man who sacrificed himself to save Isabella and provide her with a better life, directly became the target of this entity who spreads like a virus, infecting and latching onto anyone in contact with Isabella who lets her into their homes. Accessing another secret, going through a hidden layer of the game, failing to run away from the pumpkin entity, several numbers appear on the screen, seemingly being a direct message to Jeffrey. Decoding the numbers on the screen, the entity blames Jeffrey for taking Isabella in and helping her, which meant not only taking her into his home, but also the demonic entity. This further confirms that Jeffrey became cursed as well just by trying to be a good person and helping a traumatized Isabella. However, if Rory the Rabbit, the game character representative of Jeffrey, manages to outrun the entity in the game, he manages to reach a deformed representation of Isabella, who despite being still alive, seems to have part of her consciousnness and existence trapped in the game, unable to disconnect the tethers the entity has on her. The entity with one hit incapacitates Rory, who falls to his stomach, being told by the entity how his tries of helping Isabella is futile, with him only managing to drag himself into this hell, a virtual realm opening a portal to this entity, accidentally created by Thomas, who also despite trying very hard, couldn't stop his family from being consumed by the entity. Jeffrey, in defeat, then observed the embodiment of Isabella being taken by the entity, which brings the story to an end until more is revealed in Andy's Apple Farm, Chapter 2. Therefore, the heroic Jeffrey, despite having his consciousness trapped, still fought with all of his might even in the virtual realm to save Isabella, sacrificing himself yet again, but despite all of his efforts, Isabella was doomed to be enslaved by this evil entity. Rest in peace, Jeffrey. You truly deserved much better. That's it for this video, folks. I'm really rooting for Jeffrey, or in other words, the rookie warrior rabbit. Maybe we're gonna see much more of him in the sequels. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's been your host Star, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.